Good morning. In previous lecture we have discussed different type of evaporator used. In this lecture we will discuss how to evaluate the performance of evaporator. So there are mainly three parameters. One is capacity, second one is economy, and third one is steam consumption. So we will discuss all three parameter one by one. So first of all, the capacity of evaporator. This is defined as the number of kilogram of water vaporized per hour. The capacity of an evaporator depend on the temperature of the solution. So if the feed solution is at its boiling temperature, all the heat supply utilized for evaporation, thus increasing the capacity of the evaporator. But on the other hand, if the solution is subcooled, then some amount of energy will be used to heat up the solution to its boiling temperature. So in that case, the capacity will value of capacity will decrease. On the other hand, if we have superheated feed, then its capacity will increase. So the capacity depend on the temperature at which the feed is available. The second important parameter is economy. Economy, or we also call them steam economy. So this steam economy is kilogram of water vaporized from all the effect per kilogram of steam used. Now, evaporator operation can be a single effect evaporation or multiple effect evaporation. In single effect evaporation, material has to pass through only one unit. But on the other hand, in multiple effect evaporator, there are multiple evaporator unit and material has to pass through multiple unit, and at the end we get concentrated solution. So the economy of single effect evaporator is always less than 1. But on the other hand, multiple effect evaporator have higher economy but lower capacity than single effect evaporator. The thermal condition of evaporator feed has an important impact on economy and performance. As I told you, we have we can have three type of feed. One is feed at its boiling temperature, another one is subcooled feed, or we can say below its boiling temperature, third one is superheated feed. So the economy will change depending on the type of feed we have. Third is steam consumption. Steam consumption is the amount of steam consumed per hour. This steam consumption is again very important to know and can be estimated by the ratio of capacity divided by economy. So this steam consumption can be calculated by dividing capacity to its economy. Now there are multiple method for increasing steam economy, including preheating the feed. Uh, as I told you earlier, if the solution is subcooled, then a amount of energy will be used to increase temperature of the feed. So if steam is at its boiling temperature, then we can save that energy. So one way to increase economy by preheating the feed. So this preheating can be done with the help of using vapor generated in evaporator itself, or we can use some non-steam source. So because steam generation is an expensive operation, use of multiple effect evaporator is helpful to increase its steam economy. Another method is vapor recompression, that can be done either by thermal method or by mechanical method. The above technique increase steam economy but not steam capacity, or we can say throughput. While we design the evaporator, we have to keep this mind to calculate the steam requirement. We have to apply mass balance, solid balance, and energy balance. After that we can calculate the amount of steam required. And for energy balance, we can use this energy balance equation, that is Q equal to UA delta T. Here this U is overall heat transfer coefficient, A is total area available for heat transfer, and this delta T is temperature difference between the steam and the solution. or the temperature difference between heating medium to the main solution. Now there are multiple factor which affect rate and economy of evaporator. They are falling heat transfer coefficient, thermal resistance, viscosity, entrainment and foaming, corrosion, and temperature difference between steam and the boiling fluid. We know falling create an additional resistance for heat transfer. So if any falling occur on the wall of the evaporator, the rate of heat transfer will decrease, or the economy will decrease. Second one is heat transfer coefficient of product and steam side. So for example, if we have highly viscous solution, then their heat transfer coefficient will be low. So to increase heat transfer coefficient, we have to create turbulence in the solution, because when we increase turbulence, the value of Reynolds number will increase, and ultimately this heat transfer coefficient will increase. Third one is thermal resistance of the wall. Again, if the thermal conductivity of material used is high, then the rate of heat transfer will be high. So we have to keep this in mind, that the material used for this evaporator having high value of thermal conductivity, so that better heat transfer between hot fluid to the cold fluid takes place, and we get better economy. Other one is viscosity of the product, entrainment and foaming, corrosion, and the temperature difference. Again, we have to maintain high temperature difference between hot and cold fluid to increase the rate of heat transfer and economy of the evaporator. Now, this boiling point elevation is also very important parameter in heat in evaporator, because when solution get vaporized, its concentration increases. So due to increase in concentration, its boiling point will also increase, because boiling point of the solution mainly depend on three parameters. One is pressure. uh, uh, if pressure increases, the boiling point will also increase. For example, if we take water, it's boil at 100 degree centigrade for 1 atmospheric pressure, but if we increase pressure to 2 atmosphere, then it will not boil at 100 degree centigrade, but it will boil at some higher value of temperature. Let's say, for example, it will boil at 110 degree centigrade. So by increasing pressure, we can increase boiling point. This is very important, because some material are highly they are heat sensitive. So for that, if we create vacuum in the evaporator, then their boiling point will decrease, and we get vaporization at low temperature. So in that way, heat sensitive material can be vaporized without their degradation. Second is dissolved solute. So when amount of dissolved solute increases, its boiling point also increases. Third one is hydrostatic head. Boiling point of solution also increase with increasing hydrostatic head. The boiling point of solution will be higher than that of water. This is called boiling point elevation. So what happened in evaporator? During the evaporation process, the concentration of the solution increases when more and more water get vaporized. So its boiling point also increases. So to encounter these changes, we use During rule. So this During rule is used to find out the increase in boiling temperature due to increase in solute concentration in the solution. So this During rule is an empirical law that relates the boiling point of a solution to the boiling point of solvent. In evaporator, we use solvent means pure water. So at different pressure for a solution of given concentration. This is during curve. In the y-axis we have boiling point of solution, and in the x-axis we have boiling point of pure water. So you can see if we increase solute concentration, like in the uh, lowermost line, the solute concentration is 0%, that is we have pure water. But uh, if we gradually increase concentration of solute, like this uppermost line, the solute concentration is 25 degrees centigrade. So as we increase solute concentration, its boiling point increases. So with the help of this During curve, we can find out the boiling temperature of solute at a particular concentration. So this is all about today lecture. Thank you.